Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. This is Cyrus. Hope you're having a great day wherever in the world you happen to be. And in this video, we'll be talking about an interesting experience I had that may shed some light on the often debated subject of Hitler or people like Hitler and what becomes of them. This comes on the heels, well, not the heels, but the legacy of once having an experience where I seem to have literally met Kim Jong-il on the other side, but not by myself. I'm not some special delegate person on the astral plane, but it was like a large group of people, a lot of tourists coming to see this kind of North Korean version on that side. And that's a different story. I think I did a video about that earlier last year. This experience a bit different. It involves a documentary film that I was watching on the other side, and how I came back with the memory of that experience of watching a film. So no direct experience. This is just reporting something that I was watching on that side. And I have taken time in the past to kind of like watch astral TV shows. So often I've had experiences in the astral home, and I've made it a point to immediately go to the television and turn it on, because I have a great curiosity about like how the culture is established in these other planes of existence, at least this one that so closely resembles this world. And the television is often, or the internet for that matter, or the sort of astral equivalents of YouTube, which, believe it or not, I think elements like that exist there, are usually the quickest way into getting a glimpse into what that side is like, beyond just the typical experiences that tend to be very personal. So that's always been an interest of mine. And so I'm going to read off the story that I posted on the group. I'll probably do an article about this on the website as well. And a little bit of a preamble about the topic of Hitler. So Hitler has often been debated about among circles in afterlife fields. And the more contentious area is what has been said by authors like Rob Schwartz and I believe Neil Donald Walsh, who have literally said that Hitler is in heaven because evil isn't real. We're all playing roles. It's all theater. And Hitler died and was immediately an angel floating around in the sky with a harp. Of course, this philosophy is another form of kind of new age spiritual bypassing. The idea that there are no consequences in life. You can go shoot up a school and it doesn't matter because moral relativism is the name of the game. And we're all just waiting around to die, which fixes all of our problems. And of course, this perspective doesn't have a lick of wisdom behind it. And all the great spirit teachers I can think of, whether that's Silver Birch or Paramahansa Yogananda, and a number of other, many other sources, Leslie Flint Tape, so it's many sources, basically describe the opposite of that. This is not the case. Your problems don't go away. You become responsible for the energies that you've created in this life, including the dark energies. If you do dark, cruel, terrible things to people, you have to in some way be responsible for those actions to yourself. So you have to live down that guilt. You have to live down that shame. And on astral conditions, that can manifest as some very not so pleasant regions, which magnetically synchronize, I suppose, to your thought frequency. And this can be very shocking. Some very shocking conditions. The moral of the story is you don't, despite what like Walsh and Rob Schwartz and some of these authors claim, you don't get this, free get out of jail free card by passing away. It's again, this is like spiritual bypassing. It's another form of that new agery, that kind of new age religion, to not do anything, just wait for ascension. Basically, you die, you ascend, all your problems are solved. None of your actions in life mattered. Very, very scary if that type of philosophy took over. Anyway, so because of this, the debate about Hitler often rages on forums because of some of those comments that have been made in the past by some of those authors. And Maybe that's why when I was astral traveling, I sought out a documentary about Hitler so I could maybe get some information from that side about Hitler's conditions. So let's read the story. Before we go further, a couple things. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet, as well as click that little notification bell to the right of the subscribe button. But more importantly, if you are subscribed, please double check to see that you're still subscribed. You see, YouTube regularly removes subscriptions to channels, and it's all part of this plan basically to only allow channels that are approved and part of the mainstream to become popular. So now they remove subscribers, and they unless they kind of green light a channel's content, they eliminate the suggested video content. So this is why this channel gets almost no traffic from suggested videos. Successful channels get as much as 30 or 40% of their traffic from suggested videos. So this is a black sheep channel that they don't want to expand, they don't want it to grow. So if you can help that by sharing the content, or if you have a channel that has something similar to what this content is, we can work together and maybe do some cross-content, cross-platform, or I should say cross-channel content, which could help both of us. So please get in touch with me if that's the case, given that we're probably both black sheep and need to help each other out. Okay, so let's go on to the story. So last night I was having, quote, astral dreams, not quite astral projection experiences, but the dreams are too specific and seem too relevant to like the other side for it to be just dreams. They were not particularly lucid, and otherwise I wouldn't report on them if not for this next part. So I was aware I was with my parents at some type of hotel and waiting on my father, which is not very unusual. I actually think that we were getting a car, which is also not unusual if you see astral cities that still have people driving cars around, which is, a different topic. Anyway, the point is I was waiting and waiting for my father, which is again the story of my life when I was growing up. It seems like it's still going on that side. So while I was waiting, I decided to watch TV. And so I began watching a documentary about tracking down Hitler's whereabouts in the present day astral Earth. So this is where suddenly I became more lucid, because I think my subconscious knew that this was important, juicy information that I could talk about on this channel or on the group. So it started kicking me into a more astral type of experience. So the dream was I was being pulled out of the dream and into a real environment. That's astral projection. And of course I had to stay focused so I didn't lose it, but I was able to basically be watching this documentary for like 30 minutes. I don't really know how or where I was watching it. Maybe it was like on a tablet or something, but the consciousness was very focused just on that programming I was watching. And if I was trying to like look around and see where I was, like I was losing it. And so I was just like focused on this like documentary film. So the part of the documentary that I began watching was showing this. There was a giant rally with thousands of people. I can't even say this word, YouTube will censor me, the World War II bad guys holding torches. But they didn't look like they were wearing that full like outfit. They also kind of looked like modern people with blue jeans and t-shirts, but they were, supremacists. There was a very zealous sounding woman on stage and some type of ritual activity being performed as there were names coming up on a screen and people going up on the stage. Maybe they were being thanked or honored, I don't know, but they were all speaking German, so this was definitely an astral German location. The highlight of the evening, of course, was the Führer himself was going to come out to address his thousands of disciples. So the documentarian had gone behind the scenes to talk to Hitler first, which was then the next scene of Hitler and his wife, Eva Braun. So Hitler is a little old German guy with a bad comb-over. His wife appeared quite elderly as well, and they were really the least intimidating couple you could ever imagine. So the documentarian asked Hitler about his greatest accomplishments in life. Basically, Hitler went into a long 5-minute talk about his relationship with his wife and their tricks and secrets for staying together throughout enormous challenges. Hitler made it 100% clear to the documentarian his biggest accomplishment was his relationship with Eva Braun. Nothing else was of so much importance to him. The next part of the conversations concerned what some of the biggest problems were that Hitler now faced in his new life. And he made it clear that a lot had changed. He was talking about how his closest friend and ally had disappeared along with others. So I think he was talking about like Göring or Himmler or maybe Eichmann or some other such person, and that nothing was really the same without this person and his team around. And so the documentarian asked, where are they now? And so Hitler responds, oh, why, they're up here with all of us, somewhere, of course. We just don't see them. They're somewhere I can't get to. So what I thought about this, to me, the pretty clear implication was that these right-hand people, all these lieutenants of Hitler, were in some much lower, much darker condition that we could only imagine. Hitler himself, however, somehow wasn't, and appeared very much on this normal astral plane level where most people go to. I don't know if a documentarian can, go and investigate by going into some dark realm of the mind and be able to bring his camera equipment. I don't know if that's even possible. I'm just assuming that this was in the sort of proper dimension that most people find themselves into. But where do these people go? And so there was a discussion here in the comments about that concerning who holds the most culpability in a situation like this, right? Is it going to be the mastermind, somebody like Hitler, or is it going to be the person who pulls the trigger, so to speak, right? So who is going to bear the brunt of the energetic karma? Would it be Hitler or would it be Himmler? And possibly, if this was a real documentary and a real experience, like this could be indicating that the brunt of that energy was not the person like screaming and yelling on stage and suggesting to do these things, but the people who actually carried it out and pulled the trigger and did all those, and did the brunt of the actions. And which would mean why, his retinue and his lieutenants didn't transition with him, that they weren't there when he arrived, and that maybe they're in some really dark kind of realm of the mind, or maybe they instantly reincarnated to try to atone for those energies, or who knows what became of them. Whatever the case is, Hitler is saying his top dogs, his lieutenants, are gone. And this means that, his operations, he couldn't really operate without these people. So then Hitler started wobbling off with his wife, and the camera guy followed him. So to the left was the stage and the giant rally, and to the right was basically like the parking lot. And so he started going right. So the cameraman asks, but Mr. Hitler, there are thousands of people waiting for the chance to see you. Where are you going? And Hitler says, no, I have other things I have to do, and I'm going home. And so there you have it, thousands of fire and terror followers, and Hitler himself, who didn't seem to care about any of it anymore and just wanted a quiet life with his wife. So as awareness continued to where I managed to see my mom, and I told her, guess who I just saw a documentary about? Adolf Hitler and where he is now. And she was like, that's nice, Cyrus, get in the car. So she didn't really care. And then we had to wait there was a big horse and carriage going by the street with like a really weird, like huge a huge carriage. There was a couple in it, and it was like a little honeymoon thing. And this was like a nice hotel or a nice resort. We waited for the horse and carriage to go by, and then we left. But that's it for my experience. But there's another point which I thought was interesting from this story about this, apparent documentary, is that Hitler and Eva were quite old. Now they weren't like decrepit. I mean, they looked like maybe they were in the late 70s. Hitler was definitely a bit shorter than I would imagine, and Eva, had white hair and looked pretty frail. Now, sometimes, especially people who have emotional baggage or just don't have very much conscious awareness, they kind of look like how they did when they crossed over, and they kind of keep that form going for sometimes indefinitely. This has been my experience. Or they just kind of stay the form that they want to be, which could be, some people prefer to be like old looking, or to be an old man. I got the sense from Hitler, from watching this, that he didn't have any interest in anything to do with his old life or being young and full of fire and evil, and I think he preferred being this kind of like a kind old man, which was this sort of persona that he had going. But that said, they died in the bunker, and Hitler was in his 50s, and Eva was like in her 30s or something like that. So why would they be kind of an elderly couple? Well, one possibility is that you cross over and you keep aging until you don't want to age anymore. The other possibility is that there is researchers that have suggested, or there's some evidence to support this idea, that Hitler and Eva didn't die, that they're people with great means who had arranged to in the middle of the invasion of Germany, to shuttle them out of Germany, and then they retired in South America with lots of other World War II bad guys. And there's this fly in this room still trying to sabotage my video by attacking my eyeball. But anyway, so there was there has been research into that possibility, that they didn't die in the bunker, but they were they were in South America. And there's an interesting alleged image of him, and that people's testimonials that he was just this happy guy living next door, elderly German gentleman, and he had shaved off his little mustache and didn't realize that this was actually Hitler that they were living next to. There's a documentary or a series about this called like Hunting Hitler or something like this. I don't remember the name of it. I haven't done all my homework on that field. But anyway, if that were true, then it would also explain why they'd be kind of like an elderly couple on that side, because they'd, maybe Hitler passed away in his late 70s or 80s, and then Eva Braun lived for a while later, and then also passed away at a ripe old age, and then kind of kept that motif going on that side. I don't know. It's one possibility out of many. Too strange probably to speculate, and this is just one experience that I had watching somebody else's documentary that they made investigating this. So there's a lot of we don't know, and then things get mistranslated, interpreting astral experiences back into this life. So that's not always 100% either. But I do feel like this was a legit documentary, and it's interesting, the concept that maybe I find it detestable what some of these other authors were talking about, that Hitler is in heaven, but he's not in some higher plane of existence. This would mean that he's in this kind of mediocre middle level astral earth-like condition, with thousands and thousands of followers who idolize him, and he doesn't want anything to do with any of it anymore, and considers his only actual accomplishment in life wasn't any of those things, but just his relationship. So it sounds like some serious, personal development on his part, and the fact that he would just walk away from, showing up for the rally. So that is interesting, and it would make me think that if there is any ongoing threat from those people into our present day, it would be these, the people idolizing him and the people at that rally. And, if there's any threat to the astral plane, or if they could somehow influence this world, those probably are the bigger threat than Hitler himself, who seems to just be kind of an old washed up guy who just wants to live a quiet life and probably make amends for his actions, which was kind of what it seemed like from watching this documentary. But again, how do we say for sure what's going on? I can't say for sure. I can just report this thing that happened. So there you go. Pretty interesting, pretty weird experience. What do you guys think? Is this the fate of Hitler? And one last, I think, really important note is that, again, I can't, this type of thing requires cross-corroboration. So if you're a remote viewer If you're a medium, but I think especially remote viewing is the most efficient way to get to the bottom of these mysteries, then there needs to be some kind of cross corroboration to see if this documentary was accurate, if that was really him, and to be able to verify, that what his conditions are like now. And so if anybody wants to step up and do that, contact me or leave a comment down below. Anyway, if you want to get involved, I encourage you to maybe become a patron, patreon.com/afterlife topics, bottom left side of the screen. Different levels. If you sign up, you can join our private classes, private meetup groups. I also offer coaching for people. I can offer my own opinions and ideas about an afterlife for people who need information, as well as tips, advice, and assistance with achieving out-of-body and astral projection states for donation level prices. Just if you want to help me keep this job going, then you can contact me. Again, my email, bottom left side, cyrus@cyruskirkpatrick.com. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.